Joining us now is Mark Rosenker, former chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board and CBS News aviation analyst. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Vanita. Good morning, Anthony.
There was a lot Seth just covered in terms of what we now know. There was human intervention. There was an additional 7 hours of flight time we hadn't heard of up to this point. What was happening during those 7 hours that we now know about?
Certainly we need to be looking and trying to understand what happened. Now that we understand that there is human intervention, I think we're going to have to stop using our accident investigation techniques and begin turning this more into criminal investigation techniques.
One of the things that we've heard, Mark, is that the plane's altitude varied significantly. It went up as high as nearly 45,000 feet, I believe, and as low as 20,000. What does that suggest?
Could be a struggle. It could be someone who is attempting to take the aircraft and not necessarily really understanding how to fly it. Lots of questions now that we now really begin to believe that there is human intervention involved rather than mechanical potential failure.
It's interesting to me because, I read that wherever the aircraft is registered takes the lead in the investigation. There are so many countries involved in this point. Why do we get the sense, or why does it feel like Malaysia is taking so much time in releasing information when so many people want to know what happened here?
It's a very good question. I think early on they believed that they could handle this type of investigation. It became overwhelming for them. I think there was embarrassing information which came out clearly about their inability to track fake passports. So then they began to draw in. And only the investigation really began to blossom, if you will, when they finally turned the information over to the NTSB and the FAA, that they could validate the tracks that they were just kind of looking at and couldn't understand what they were seeing.
That area that they're now looking at, that Seth pointed out to us, is enormous. Mark, is there actually a possibility we may not find this plane?
Well, the possibility exists, Anthony, but I really believe we will. This is a 777. It's a very large aircraft. And when it finally goes down, we'll be able to see debris. This aircraft has probably been on the ground now, well, probably for 7 days. The airplane can't fly for 24 hours.
Right.
We do believe if the aircraft was filled, it could fly for 7,700 miles. We don't believe that it had that much fuel on it. We will find this aircraft. We will understand what happened when we get the boxes to be able to tell us exactly what happened on board.
These investigators, I shouldn't say investigators, but they are also turning to crowdsourcing. I mean, there are individual people now who are studying these grids. What are they hoping that someone, a regular person, could find?
It would be nice if we could get something from that, but I really believe the folks that are on the ground doing the search and rescue, search and recovery, they'll find what's necessary to understand what happened.
The most likely scenario, people seem to say, is that it went into the Indian Ocean somehow. If it is there, how difficult will it be to find?
Well, the Flight 447, Air France, that I was involved in back in June of '09 when the initial crash occurred, it took us 5 days to begin to get any debris. 2 years later, we were able to recover the boxes and find out exactly what happened.
2 years to find the plane. Why so long?
Well, they just didn't have an exact pinpoint. But they continued to come back based on some calculations and took some matter of fact, it was the Woods Hole folks that helped the French be able to recover and actually pinpoint where the aircraft was.
All right. Mark Rosenker, thanks so much, Mark.